everyone, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Pass Pirate Pay, the new show where we tell you whether movies and TV shows are things that you should skip, things that you should watch in violation of your country's copyright laws, or something that you should shell out your hard-earned money to go see in the theater or on a streaming service. Today's episode, we're going to be focusing on Batman. We've got 3 Batman-themed entries. We're going to be watching Caped Crusader, the new show on Netflix, the animated cartoon show. We're watching a couple episodes of The Penguin, which is on Max, and Joker, Folie, Deux, which is in theaters now. And I'm going to tell you what I think about those things, and hopefully give you some advice on whether or not you should watch them.
Well, hold on a second, Ken. They don't know who you are.
Oh, that's right. My name is Ken. I'll be your host. I am a self-proclaimed movie expert. I will be giving you my takes and hopefully giving you some explanations which will make you realize that I know what I'm talking about, and you should follow my advice.
All right. And who am I, Ken?
This is my co-host, Andy, who's also producing this podcast.
Hello. All right, Ken, go for it, man. So the first one is Batman, the Caped Crusader, right?
Batman Caped Crusader, the animated series on Netflix. I have watched the first 3 episodes of this show. Basically, what I'm going to tell you about this show is that it feels like a very unnecessary piece of television. Which is not to say that it's terrible. It's just, it's not really doing anything that we haven't seen before. If you've seen anything in your life having to do with Batman, you probably have some kind of understanding of what's going to be happening on Caped Crusader. So the first episode opens and...
Well, stop, Ken. I think we should tell people that this is a discussion podcast.
Yes.
And it is not a spoiler-free review podcast.
Oh, yes. That is a very good point. We will be going into these things with the understanding that you either have seen this already or don't mind having major plot points revealed to you.
Right.
Because we want to be able to freely discuss the things that happen in these shows, whether or not they work or don't work, and what they add or subtract to the value of the show. So we felt like we couldn't do that without venturing into spoiler territory. So this is not going to be a spoiler-free zone. We will be spoiling these things.
Right. All right. We digress. Back to Batman Caped Crusader.
Once again, Batman Caped Crusader. So it's everything that's happening in the show is very well-worn territory. So the beginning of every Batman series that I've ever seen starts in the same way, where there are various people in the criminal underworld lurking about, and they're about to commit some crime, and then somebody's like, "Oh, you think we should be doing this thing? What about the Batman?" And then the other guy invariably says, "No, there is no Batman.
That's a myth."
Yeah, no idea. Like completely just dismisses the whole thing, and it happens every single time. And sure enough, it happens here where these guys are committing a crime, and then sure enough, Batman bursts in onto the scene, and he does his Batman thing and takes care of the criminals. And it's all very similar. And then we move on and we expand out into Gotham City, and we once again, it's all the same stuff where we find out that the police are all in the pockets of the criminals, and Gotham is a very corrupt place. And we meet a pre-Two-Face Harvey Dent, who's a grandstanding district attorney who's got political aspirations. It's all the things that we've seen before. These things are, it's very, very unoriginal. And then we meet our villain in the first episode. And I should say, through the 3 episodes I've watched, that there's been a trend in Batman. The course of Batman throughout history has been to make it more and more realistic, right?
Grittier and grittier.
Exactly. Like we get to at the beginning, it was Adam West. I don't read comic books, so I can't really speak to that. But in the beginning, we had Adam West, and it's all very ridiculous, and there's no sense that anything's happening in the real world.
Yeah.
And then we move on to Tim Burton, and it's a little more realistic, but it's still completely ridiculous. There's a lot that's happening that makes you understand that this can't be happening in the real world. And then we go to Christopher Nolan, and it gets a little bit more. It feels really gritty and really real, but you still have stuff like the Scarecrow with his magic potion that can make you terrified of whatever is happening around
Yeah.
you. And it's still not there until we finally get to the most recent, the Matt Reeves' The Batman, where it's basically like Batman is just a detective He's just a guy. He's just a detective who happens to wear a mask and a cape.
And the Riddler is out of 7.
Right. But this show, at least one thing it has going for it, it's a cartoon and it still exists in cartooniness, right? So it's not gritty. It's dark for a cartoon, but it's still a cartoon, and you can tell it's doing the thing it's going to do.
Yeah.
And then we get a hint that it might be trying to do something interesting when we meet the Penguin, who's the first villain, and
who's a woman.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Penguin is a woman, and her henchmen are her children. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, this might be an interesting twist, right? We're going to get this thing where Penguin has these children that are her underlings, and that's going to be a whole dynamic that we've never seen before, right? It turns out that's not actually the case at all, right? To the extent that she's the boss and her kids are her underlings, it feels like the Fratellis or the Beagle Boys from DuckTales, where it's just like the kids are numbskulls and she's Mo slapping them around, and it's like they have the opportunity to play into the dynamic where she's this boss, but she's also a mother. But like she executes one of her children immediately.
Yeah, I thought that's the part I thought was like, oh man, okay, like unfeelingly,
right? Some rival crime boss mentions to her that one of her kids was a rat in her organization and ratted him out, and without a second thought she's like, kill that kid. And it turns out he wasn't even the rat. She's just going on the word of this other crime boss, and never a second thought. The kid is never mentioned again. He's just dead, and she murders a kid, and it's fine. And then her other kid is like, "Oh no,
shitless.
Yeah, she's gonna kill me too." And then he like goes and runs to the DA, and he's gonna turn state's witness on her. And it's just like there's no point for her being a woman other than just be like, "This is what we did," because the fact that these are her kids means absolutely nothing to the episode.
Right, and I have a hard time buying women evil super bosses.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like it's in a woman's nature to murder her own child like that.
Sure, absolutely.
And it takes me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that I honestly have no idea what they were going for by making her a woman, because the fact that they're her children is not at all a factor in anything that happens. There's no reason for them to have done it that way. I think they
just wanted to show how ruthless this penguin was.
Yeah, I guess so. The thing about that is, like, this show seems to follow the pattern of the old Batman show where it's going to be a different villain every week, right?
Okay.
So
I only watched the first episode.
So the Penguin in the first 3 episodes does not reappear. She's the villain in the first episode, does not come back as far as we've seen. Never mentioned, nothing about her.
Okay. And you've seen 3 episodes,
I've seen 3 episodes, yeah. It's like, if what you're saying were true, where it's like you want to build up this villain, that would make more sense if she was going to be the overriding villain for the entire season or something like that, like on The Sopranos or something, where it's like, this is the bad guy of the season and we're building them up to make them super scary. Yeah. But that's just not the case. She's just gone. It's just like, what are we even doing here? It's very strange. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. Another thing that struck me as really not good about the show is the voice acting. It seemed really amateurish.
It did seem a little hammy.
Yeah, like nobody sounds like a human being. They all sound like cartoon characters. I found it very off-putting. I felt like Netflix has billions of dollars, and they're obviously, they've shelled out money to get the rights to Batman to make this show. I figure they should put some kind of production value into it. And it just feels like it seemed very amateurish, the quality of the voice acting.
Yeah. And
there are some interesting people doing it. Like Harvey Dent is voiced by Diedrich Bader. He's the next door neighbor in Office Space. He's the
I know. Yeah,
the karate guy in Napoleon Dynamite.
In one time.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a funny guy. He's generally really good, but he's just not bringing anything to the party as the Harvey Dent voice. It's not really doing anything for me at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. I think there is a crop of fans who loved the 90s Batman TV show, the animated Batman TV show.
Yeah.
It did have a big following, had a lot of fans. I was never one of them.
Me either.
And I'm a big Batman fan, but I don't love everything Batman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this is like catering to that audience because it feels like it has a similar vibe.
Yeah, I haven't really watched a lot of the Batman the animated series, the old one, but it does seem like the look is kind of going for the same kind of thing. You know, it seems like it's trying to do a similar kind of thing. Another thing that happened right away in the first episode that I thought was really weird, there's a scene where there's a couple of the Penguin's henchmen and they're trying to put a stop to the Batman, and Batman's coming along in the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And Batman just plows into them in the Batmobile. He just runs over the henchmen and just they just go flying out of the picture. And it's just like, this is who this Batman is, right? These henchmen
Batman kills motherfuckers.
He just kills people. These henchmen are totally expendable, and the Batmobile is like, I've got this armored car. You're standing there shooting guns at me, and I don't care. I'm gonna plow right over you. The second episode, there's no villain. There's no standard Batman villain.
Okay.
The second episode felt a lot like a Scooby-Doo episode. There's a whodunit. It takes place inside the apparently thriving Gotham movie industry, where a famous actress is abducted. And Bruce Wayne is questioned because he apparently had been on a date with her, and he was the last person to see her before she was abducted. And we meet this woman cop who's investigating. She's investigating the disappearances, and we're meeting all of these shady looking co-stars and everybody's being interviewed. And then one guy turns up dead, and then eventually he's not actually dead. And the culprit winds up being, there was a plastic surgeon who invented a thing where you inject it in your face and you can mold your face into any shape that you want. So a guy who turned up dead wasn't actually dead, but he had injected the plastic surgeon with this stuff and turned the plastic surgeon's face into his own face. So everyone would think he's dead.
Oh, that's
it's like,
tricky.
oh, it was him all along. And the guy's name is Basil Karlo, which is, he looks and sounds just like Boris Karloff. And his whole thing is that he's an ugly, great actor. And he's like, oh, I could have been a great actor if I didn't have this ugly face.
Right.
But so that's his whole thing. And he abducts the actress. And then the detective comes in, and she and Batman wind up saving the day. And she tries to arrest Batman after it's all over. But that doesn't happen because Batman escapes, and the other cops are bumbling around and distracting her, which allows Batman to get away. And it's all really stupid. And then in the third episode, Bruce Wayne actually punches out some jerk who makes a wisecrack about his mother being killed at some party, which leads to him being court ordered to see a therapist who is a Dr. Quinzel, who will eventually become Harley Quinn. Yeah. So they've got Harvey Dent and they've got this Dr. Quinzel. So they're setting the seeds to have these eventual villains come in. But nothing is really paid off through what I've seen. And the villain in the third episode is Catwoman. Okay. And she is the worst Catwoman I've ever seen,
ever? Including Halle Berry?
Yeah, like not in terms of performance or anything, but just like if you're judging Catwomen on how well they do their Catwomaning, she's the worst. The episode is 27 minutes long and she's arrested twice. Like, it's insane. She's the worst. She can't seem to do anything right. Like, and when she's arrested, so it's Selena Kyle, just like in all the other Batman stuff, except in this one, she's like a wealthy socialite whose father is in jail for tax evasion.
Wealthy socialites need to be cat burglars.
Yeah, exactly. Well, her father's in jail, see, so the money's running out. I guess this is what's happening.
That makes sense.
But within the first 10 minutes, she puts on the Catwoman mask and she robs a bunch of places, and then Batman ties up her ankles so the cops can arrest her, and the cops pull off her mask and like, oh, it's Selena Kyle, she's Catwoman, and we just know this right away. But then she gets some kind of deal with the judge where she gets out of prison or she gets out of jail and she's not prosecuted, and then just goes right back to being Catwoman, even though everybody knows that it's Selena Kyle being the Catwoman this whole time.
Yeah, the cover's blown.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. But then at the end of the episode, she's arrested again and she's put in prison, and we see Batman talking to Alfred, and he's like, Catwoman will be back, but we're done with her for now. Like, okay, this is
if this show plans on going further, they're gonna have to bring back villains.
Yeah,
because if they're introducing a new villain every episode, they're gonna be scraping the bottom of the barrel pretty
right
soon.
Exactly. They're definitely,
there's a lot of Batman villains, but there's only like 5 good ones.
Right, exactly. They're definitely going to have to reimagine some of these things. I'm sure since Harley Quinn is there, the Joker will come around eventually. But I don't think I'm going to find out.
Well, the Joker has to come around.
Yeah, sure. But I'm pretty sure I'm not going to find out because I don't think I'm going to be watching any more episodes of Crusader.
I was done after the first one. It just had that whole Batman animated series thing, and I was just never a fan of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, eh.
Right. So as I'm watching it, I did get the thought that if I were 12 years old, if this were airing back when I was in junior high, and I come home from school, if this show is on at 3:30 in the afternoon, I would watch the hell out of it. I think I would have really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think I aged right out of the animated Batman stuff.
Yeah. And I don't know how TV works with kids anymore. I know that they're all on TikTok all the time.
Yeah, I know it. There's no such thing as 3:30. It's time to watch a show.
There's no Disney afternoon anymore, right? So I don't know. But I feel like this show was designed for that. Like if I were a kid coming home from school, I'd be like, yeah, Batman, so I'm going to watch that. It's going to be great. It would be really cool.
Yeah.
But like
a grittier Batman for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I guess, I mean, I'm an adult. It's a comic book. It's based on a comic book. Comic books are generally considered for kids. And there's a trend for Batman. Well, yeah. There's a trend with Batman now, like I was talking about, to be more and more adult, But I guess there's a place in the world for Batman to be just for kids. And if kids come home and watch Netflix and watch this thing, I think it's going to be a pretty big success with the 12-year-old boy demographic.
Yeah, I think the Batman universe is so big that you can have funny Batmans.
Yeah.
Like Lego Batman was funny, and Adam West was funny.
Right, yep.
You can have serious, gritty, dramatic ones. You can have early teens. Yeah, you can have it all, man. Yeah. Batman is a smorgasbord.
Right. All that being said, my recommendation for this Caped Crusader, Batman Crusader.
Hold on. So, Ken, pass, pirate, or pay for this new Batman show?
Okay.
Caped Crusader.
Caped Crusader is firmly in the pass category for me.
All right. Well, there it is.
Yes. If you are an adult, if you're a 12-year-old boy listening to this podcast, hit me up on X and tell me how the fuck you found this and why you're listening to it. But yeah, also enjoy this show. But if you're an adult, yeah, you can feel free to skip this one. I promise you're not really missing out on anything. All right, so the second show we're going to be talking about is The Penguin on Max.
Yes.
And The Penguin is a spin-off of Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
Matt Reeves' Batman, The Batman.
With Robert Pattinson.
As Batman, which came out a couple years ago. And this show, yes, it has leaned fully into this is happening in the real world thing that I had been talking about earlier, right? There is no doubt about it. We are not in a comic book. We are in reality.
Yeah.
The only thing which is totally baffling to me why they're doing it, that is not real, is that there's this drug that everybody's talking about, and it's called drops.
Yeah.
And it's like the Gotham City version of fentanyl, I think. I don't... it's heroin.
It's a club drug.
Yeah.
You figured that out in the third episode.
Okay. But like it's
like ecstasy kind of.
I don't know why, except it's ecstasy, but people are hugely addicted to it, right?
Oh no, I'm sorry. So drops are the drug that has existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's the new shipment that they're talking about in the first two episodes. It's the new thing that's like ecstasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So drops, it's like a super addictive, very harmful drug. I don't know. I understand why they didn't just make people using heroin. I don't know why they decided to have that gap between reality and like everything else in the show is so real.
I think that there are tiny elements of comic book lore and comic book feel in there. And I think creating a new drug, like creating a fictional drug, probably lessens the realism a little bit and makes it a little more palatable. Yeah, I think.
All right.
You know?
Yeah, the one comic booky thing I did notice, and it did seem like the Penguin was stepping on the Joker's corner a little bit, was he's got this purple car. And he wears a purple suit, and it's just like, yeah. So this is the flashiness that doesn't seem like it's in like this guy Oz Cobb, who is the Penguin.
Right.
He is basically Tony Soprano. right? Like that's it's
right. But in The Sopranos, Tony Soprano starts out as a high level. He's pretty big. He's not the boss yet,
right?
But he's up there.
But so's the Penguin. He's before Carmine Falcone is killed at the end of the Batman, he's like one of his top guys.
I guess you're right, yeah. Yeah, it starts out as Tony Soprano started out.
Yeah, he's like a capo or whatever in the organization, And there's a power vacuum at the top of this crime organization because Carmine Falcone is dead, and that's kind of putting the Penguin in a little bit of no man's land where he doesn't really see where he's fitting in. But yeah, he's basically he's a high up mobster, you know. It's so it's very strange that he's wearing this purple suit and driving this ridiculously flashy purple car all around everywhere. Or actually, he doesn't drive; he's got this henchman that he recruits in the first episode,
which I like.
Yeah, I guess. So I'm only 2 episodes into the show, and I guess I'm kind of having a hard time seeing what the fuck it's all about. So like this character Victor, who is his driver, in the first episode the Penguin comes out and he sees these kids trying to jack his car or steal his rims or something, and he starts shooting at them, and one of them gets left behind, and it's this kid Victor, and the Penguin's basically just recruits this kid to help him.
Well, I think he goes to kill him and kind of feels for him.
Right. So what happens before that is there's a scene where one of the other members of the underworld, one of Carmine Falcone's kids, is talking some shit. He and Penguin are having a little... I'm just going to call him Penguin because Oz seems really weird.
Sure.
They're having this conversation, talking about good times and bad times and whatever, and then the kid starts giving the Penguin a little bit of shit, and the Penguin just shoots him. And so now he's got this body to dispose of because he doesn't want anybody to know that he just killed this kid, obviously.
And the kid he's real high up.
Yeah.
He's like one of the Falcones.
Right. He's Carmine Falcone's son. He's probably next in line to be the new boss, the new head guy. But he's a drop head, which is, he's an addict. So he's fucking up a little bit, and he's an asshole, and so he gets shot. So what happens is the Penguin needs to dispose of this body, and now all of a sudden here's this kid who's trying to jack his car, and Penguin's got him under a gun, and he's like, well, I might as well use this kid to help me get rid of this body. So they drag the body, they put him in the trunk, and they drive him out to a dump, and then he's gonna kill the kid, and he's telling the kid to turn around and look at the sun or whatever, and he's gonna blow his brains out, but then he has a change of heart, and he's like, no, I see something of myself in this kid or something like that.
Yeah.
And now he recruits this kid to be his driver, henchman, whatever.
Right. And the kid is scared that he's going to be murdered by the Penguin at any point because he knows a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And he does the Fight Club thing where he takes the kid's driver's license so he knows where he lives.
Right.
So the kid can't run away. And I'm guessing he's probably got family that he's afraid that if the Penguin keeps threatening, he's going to murder his family. And it's just like, if the kid doesn't do what he says, he's going to murder his family. So the kid is kind of unwittingly recruited into the Penguin organization.
Right.
There seem like there are hints of what's going on with this kid, but nothing is really spelled out at all. And it seems like he just exists so we, the audience, can have a sense of the two sides of the Penguin. Because it seems like that's the thing that the creators are really going for. It's like he's a good guy, but he's also a violent. It's The Sopranos. It's totally The Sopranos.
Yeah, anti-hero.
Right. He's you root for him, but he's also a murderer, and he's capable of these horrible things, right?
Yeah.
So this kid Victor, it's just the Penguin is just constantly like telling him these stories to get all buddy with him, and then he'd be like, "All right, now I'm going to kill you." Just kidding. He's just like it seems like a totally non-realistic relationship. I don't understand.
Right, but I think you kind of need it though. Like, if you're going to make a compelling show about a bad guy, you have to humanize him a bit.
Right.
And I think this is their way of humanizing him a bit. But I also like the character. And I think the kid character.
Yeah.
And I think that plays out more in the third episode.
Yeah, I hope you're right, because the kid character...
Because you've seen 2, right?
Right, I've seen 2 episodes. The kid is just not doing anything for me. And like, so I just can't shake the fact that this show is just totally beholden to The Sopranos, right? If you look at the logo that starts at the beginning of every episode, where it just says the Penguin, it's block letters, red font, and then the G of the Penguin turns into the shape of the penguin's nose, the penguin from the comic book's nose.
Okay.
And it's exactly like the Sopranos logo with the R as the gun. It's just the same thing, right? And he's got this mother who's got dementia, and he's got to take care of her, and she's pressuring him because he's not good enough, and he feels like he needs to become the underworld's kingpin to please his mother. It's just like, what? We're total. And I mean, Colin Farrell is totally spectacular in this role.
I think so too, yeah.
Like, I'm constantly looking at him, watching him on screen, trying to find Colin Farrell in that face.
You can't.
And I can't.
Like, if I didn't know, then I would never have guessed.
I would have no idea. I
would have thought it was just an actor who looked like that. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, kudos to the prosthetic people who put that makeup on him, but also it's just a really transformative performance. And
it is
really, really fantastic.
The voice, like, sounds nothing like Colin Farrell.
Yep. But it has to be said, he's doing Gandolfini. Like, he's just James Gandolfini-ing all over the place.
But there are worse things to be beholden to.
I can't disagree. I love The Sopranos.
Did you ever watch Gotham?
No.
Gotham was a show on Fox, and it took place when Bruce Wayne was a child.
Okay.
And it follows James Gordon as a beat cop and a detective.
All right.
Like, coming up in the ranks.
Yeah.
So it's the origin story of, like, all these villains, right? It was god awful. God awful. And they tried to do the same thing, make it all gritty Gotham.
Yeah.
You know, make it all realism. And my God, the performances were terrible. Jada Pinkett Smith was in it, and she was awful in it. Like, every episode got worse and worse. And I'm a huge Batman fan, and I had a lot of hope for this. And you know who Donal Logue is?
Yeah.
He was in it, and I like him a lot too. And my God, what a just abysmal show. And so when The Penguin came out, it looked a lot like that. And I was like,
yeah,
this looks like Gotham. But it's not.
Yeah.
I think it's better. What do you think about the daughter?
Oh yeah. She's great. Kristen Milotti. She is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the one thing that this show has going for it above everything else is the acting. Like, I just think, like, I want to get back to Colin Farrell for just a minute. Like, he is, like, fully embodying this penguin. He's got some kind of physical deformity where he limps, but the way he walks, it's like he's waddling. He's doing a penguin walk, and it's just so interesting and cool. Like, it's just a way of physically becoming this character that I think is so cool. Like, I can't say enough good things about what Colin Farrell is doing as the penguin. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Kristen Milotti is also really good. And
she's scary,
really scary. Like, she's got the crazy eyes, right? And that's a thing, but that's easy to do. Anybody can act and do the crazy eyes, but she's got this smile, like, when she's talking to people, and she's a woman. She's Carmine Falcone's daughter. She's the kid who Penguin murders at the beginning of the first episode. That's her brother.
Right.
And she feels like she should be at the top of this family because she's the next of kin, but she's a woman, so they don't give it to her, and they put this idiot uncle in charge. And so she is, like, struggling for power.
Yeah.
And so everybody that has these conversations with her is always kind of shining her on and, like, patting her on the head. Oh, you're so good. And she's just gotten out of Arkham Asylum so she is
after like 10 years or something.
Yeah, and so they call her the Hangman. She's apparently a multiple murderer, and so she's a lunatic.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of, so nobody's ever having these real conversations with her. So whenever anybody's talking to her, they're being very condescending. And while she's talking to them, she's always got this little smile on her face, and it's scary as fuck. Like, she just looks like, oh, you think, no, you're going to talk to me that way? Okay. All right. I will murder you. Like, just, you could just see it. And I think she's doing great. And one really funny, great thing that she does, every time they show her eating something, she eats like a total lunatic. She, like, just takes the food and just crams it into her face. It's really funny, and it's just like, I guess if you've been in an insane asylum for 10 years, your table manners kind of maybe go away, right? And so but it's just really unsettling every time she's on screen. There's a scene in the first episode where She thinks that the Penguin has murdered her brother. And so she is
correctly thinks.
Correct. Yeah. She knows, or she suspects correctly. And so she's interrogating him with torture. And like, she's just really, really scary. It's like, it's unbelievable. So yeah, I think she's doing a really good job. And I also really like, so Michael Zagan plays the brother who dies in the first scene. And that's
Joel Maisel.
Joel Maisel from, Mrs. Maisel's ex-husband. And I thought he's doing Joel Maisel stuff, right? Where he's got this inflated sense of self, but he also feels like nobody in the world respects him. And this is totally accurate. And I thought he does a really good job of being like a blustery boss who is overcompensating for the fact that he's probably not up to the job that he's trying to take over.
Yeah.
And I just thought he did a really great job of being the kind of asshole that you can totally understand why the Penguin shoots within the first 5 minutes of the show. Even though I was sad to see him go because I really like him as an actor.
Yeah, me too.
So the acting on the show is absolutely top notch, and I think they did a really good job.
So your only gripe then is that it's a little too much like The Sopranos?
Yeah, and also the plotting seems, I don't know, I'm just not really interested in the story. I'm not super invested in anything that's happening, right? So everything that's happening so far in the first 2 episodes is the Penguin scheming to get out of the mess he created for himself in the first scene of the show, right? Yeah. And his schemes never work. His totally backfired. Everything he tries is totally backfiring, and he's just left to ad lib and scramble to get these to do everything
which
he wants.
Which I kind of like.
It's okay.
You watch The Shield, right?
Yeah,
it kind of feels like that a little bit.
Yeah, right. Like there are a lot of long camera shots of just close-ups of the Penguin's face, where it's just like you see his eyes moving, and he's just like, "How am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do now?" You know, and it's just like, I don't know how sustainable that is over the course of the show, where it's just like everything is just ad-libbed. It seems like the whole show is just flying by the seat of its pants.
Yeah.
And I'm not really that interested in, I'm interested in the characters, and I'm not interested in the plots that are going on. Yeah. Right? Like there's this whole subplot of there's a rival crime family, and the boss is in prison, and he's played by the evil Clancy Brown, who plays the evil guard in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
So the Penguin is constantly trying to play these two families against each other so that he can come out on top of the whole thing. And this guy's wife is out of prison, and she's there menacing him, and I don't really see what they're doing, and there's a lot of like henchman-y looking guys running around that are, I can't really tell the difference between any of them, and they're not really, it doesn't really seem like they're doing all that much. So the story just isn't really that engaging for me yet. I've heard people talking about this show, and like somebody told me that they thought it was the best crime show since Breaking Bad. And it's just like,
I don't know about that.
I just don't see it. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I
love it. And I think every episode has gotten better and better for me.
Yeah.
And you watched the Matt Reeves Batman, right?
Yeah.
So, and it takes place right after that.
Right.
The Joker has like flooded the city.
Right.
And they're kind of rebuilding from that.
Yeah.
But I think like it still has some cheesy comic book elements to it, but they make it work like within this universe they've built. And I like it. I like that he's kind of bumbling. You know, he's kind of finding his way, and he has big balls, and he makes big swings, and I think it's cool, man.
Yeah. It's a very watchable show, but it doesn't strike me as great television. It's just I think it's fine. That's really where I'm at with it. I think it's a pretty average show with some really excellent acting. Yeah. That's where I'm at right now. But I will keep watching it. I'm certainly going to continue on. Unlike the Cape Crusader, I will be watching this one to its conclusion. Not so much that I'm interested in where it's going to go, but I kind of just want to see what Colin Farrell and Kristen Milotti are going to do next.
Yeah.
So that's it's definitely something to watch. It's certainly better than many things on TV. So.
Wow. Better than a lot of things.
Better than a lot of things on TV, which is not high praise.
So what do you say? Do you pass, pirate, or pay for this?
All right. So this one, I'm going to put it in the pirate category.
Pirate category?
I would say that this show has not quite earned my money.
Yeah,
So
I would pay for it.
Yeah, it sounded like that.
Yeah, I would.
And I think
it.
I'm in the minority on this one. It seems like a lot of people like this one a lot more than I do. And who knows? Maybe by the end of the season, I'll have a more full understanding of where the show is going, and I might decide to.
We'll revisit it.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll say it. Maybe we'll say pay. But as of 2 episodes, I would say don't give HBO your money at this point.
All right, Ken, segment number 3. What do we got?
Okay, our final installment tonight is Joker Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux.
Which is French for pretentious nonsense, I think.
Uh-oh.
No, yeah. So I can't talk about this movie without starting off by talking about how I felt about the first movie.
Joker one, yeah.
Joker. I hated it. I hated it intensely. I think it is one of the worst crimes in the history of cinema, where you make a movie about Joker, and the 2 previous movie iterations of Joker are Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger, and these people are electric when they're on screen, and then you make this movie the most joyless, dour, completely lifeless piece of shit movie you can ever think of.
Okay.
And then you take Joaquin Phoenix, who I think is one of our best actors. Like, he's one of the best actors in the world, I think. And you have him doing this just one note rage with occasional laughter that the movie says is inexplicable inside the universe. So then we don't have to come up with an explanation as to why he's doing it in the movie. And it's just totally pointless nonsense. I hate it. I hate how my 3-word review of Joker was, why so serious? Like, you're making a movie, you're making a Joker movie, you have to have a little fun. But Todd Phillips, he just feels like he was trying to make the most important movie that has ever been made while making a movie about the Joker, which is totally nonsensical to me. It just
so you didn't like the Joaquin Phoenix performance?
No, I thought I think
the one that he won the Oscar for?
I think it's one of the biggest travesties in the history of the Oscars. And I love Joaquin Phoenix. Like, I think Joaquin Phoenix should have at least one, if not multiple Oscars by now. But the one that he won it for is just so offensive to me. I cannot stand it. So that brings us to Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux, a musical.
A musical. And shockingly, I didn't hate it.
Really?
I did not hate it. That's right.
I was not expecting this.
I know. I did not expect it either. You want
to know something?
What's that?
I did not hate it either.
Oh.
I kind of loved it.
I didn't expect that either.
Yeah, I kind of loved it. But I also loved the first Joker.
Yeah. This is exciting.
Because everybody is shitting all over this.
Yeah.
Movie studios are like canceling other movies because of this.
Right.
Because it tanked so bad and people hated it so much. And I'm watching it, I'm going, what the fuck movie are they watching?
Yeah.
Like, okay, go ahead.
I have theories.
I did not expect it.
I did not expect it either. I went into this movie. So like I said, the first movie struck me as totally devoid of all life. Like, everything is so dark and dour. This movie, the musical sequences are fun.
They are fun.
I really enjoyed them.
And how they did the musical sequences where it felt like this is how the Joker was coping.
Yeah.
You know, by in his mind, because I think that the musical sequences existed only in his mind.
Right. Did you ever see the movie Dancer in the Dark with Bjork?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I've heard lots of great things about it.
It's a really great movie. And the idea is almost all of the movie is shot in this it was the Dogma 95 style, where these European dudes were going to make movies only with natural light and natural sound, and everything was super minimalist. So most of the movie is shot in that fashion, and then all the scenes where Bjork starts singing is shot in like technical or lavish musical stuff, and it's just super fun.
So there's a big contrast between
huge
the two,
contrast. And this movie felt like it was pretty indebted to that, where some of that stuff is going on. But yeah, I really like the musical sequences. The first one that really jumped out at me was when he's in the asylum and he starts singing For Once in My Life, where while all the inmates are there watching TV.
Yeah.
And he's just dancing around and singing it. And I was like, oh shit, this movie has actually got some fun. It's it's fun. It's a good time.
Right.
And then Lady Gaga shows up and they have a couple of duets, and those are pretty fun. And you forget, like, Joaquin Phoenix played Johnny Cash, and he can actually sing a little bit.
Right.
And so I really enjoyed the musical stuff. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, and also what I liked about the musical stuff is it still had a bit of darkness to it. Like the arrangements were a little askew and a little dissonant. You know, so it could tell like these were crazy people trying to be happy.
Yeah, right.
I love that.
Yep. And like I said, I thought his performance in the first movie was really one note. Like he didn't have a lot to do. But in this movie, he's not just angry and crazy. He's also
in love.
He's also sad. He's also in love. And then he's also singing. And it's just like, I feel like this performance is so much more interesting. Like, this is a reason why you have Joaquin Phoenix in your movie. You want somebody. There are not a lot of actors who could pull off all of the stuff that he's doing in this movie. And I feel like it's really great that he's there to do it. That being said, I kind of feel like Todd Phillips doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing when he's making a movie. I feel like he is.
You didn't think it looked good? I thought it looked really good.
I think that's not what I'm talking about. He knows how to compose a shot, but I don't think he knows how to tell a coherent story with coherent narrative motivations for people going on through the whole time. And I don't think he has any idea what ideas he's trying to transmit through these movies. Like, I think it's a bad sign when the guy's most celebrated movie, the best part of it is still photographs going over the end credits at The Hangover. Like, this guy, he's not Orson Welles up in here. And I feel like the first movie, what is he trying to tell a story about the way we handle, both movies, I guess, the way we handle mentally ill people?
I think so. And I think that's where it kind of excelled.
Yeah.
I think what you're looking at is we all know the character of Batman. We're very familiar with it.
Yeah.
But we've never taken a deep dive into the Joker.
Right.
A serious deep dive. And that's what they're doing here.
But I feel like that stuff just gets pushed to the side when he's also got this story about how the society pushes the poor people to the side and
right.
Unlike the rage that bubbles up with these white, it's all white men, right? These angry white men who are
and think about what happens is like the Joker, like Batman and the Joker both go through trauma.
Right.
But one is rich and loved and educated.
Yeah.
And the other is poor and goes through far more trauma.
Yeah.
And then how they deal with it. They both choose violence, but they choose a different violent path.
I just feel like he loses the thread where I think a really interesting movie can be made about the treatment of the mentally ill in this country. And obviously it's a huge problem, but I don't feel like, number one, I don't feel like the way to make that movie is to make a Batman movie out of it.
Maybe not.
And
but
number two, I just don't feel like this is the right guy to make it. I feel like he's doing a better job this time. Cause like you said, the musical stuff feels like it's an escape into his mind, which is cool. I like having more of a glimpse into his mind. And I don't feel like that was there at all in the first movie. Like the internal stuff with Joker, I don't think was there.
Yeah.
So this movie starts off with a cartoon.
Yeah.
It starts off with a cartoon where the Joker and his shadow like takes over and starts murdering people and pinning it on him.
Yeah.
And that is the theme of the movie the movie's about the trial of Joker, Arthur Fleck, for the killings that he did in the first movie. And his entire defense is he has a split personality and the Joker is a separate personality from Arthur Fleck. Right. But that's not in the first movie at all. I didn't get that impression at all the first time.
No, and I actually don't think he thought that.
I don't think so either.
The second movie.
I don't think so either. But so then why do you start this movie with that cartoon? Why are we constantly making this point about how it's two different people? You know what I mean? Because
I don't think it's two different people, but I think it's two different sides of the same person.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems really muddled to me. The whole split personality thing, which I agree by the end he's kind of saying, no, I don't think that's not what's going on.
He takes accountability.
Yeah.
Which you don't expect of the Joker.
Right.
But can we talk about the ending or do you have more?
No. Yeah. Go ahead.
What did you think of that ending?
So here's here's what I think this movie is doing. I think the entire movie is Todd Phillips taking a mea culpa for the first movie.
I don't think.
This is what I think.
Okay.
Here's what I got. So the first movie came out, and I think in his mind, he wanted the movie to be what you like about it, where it's this actual careful examination of things. But in reality,
but not careful.
In reality,
but an examination of things through the lens of the Joker.
But in reality, what happens is bros saw this movie and they're like, "Oh, burn it down! Yeah, this is amazing. Society sucks. Let's fucking lit fire to everything, right?" And it reminds me
Fight
of
Club effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like what David Fincher said when Fight Club came out, and he's like, "I can't believe
too.
I can't believe people watched this movie and thought that Tyler Durden was a positive influence on the narrator's life. I can't believe that happened." And that's exactly what happened with Joker, right? All of these fucking bros are like, "Yeah, people don't understand us. We just got to burn everything down." And it's like, I think Todd Phillips legitimately saw this thing happen, and he makes this movie where he gets nominated for Best Picture and Best Director, and is just like, what the fuck have I done here? And then the speech that the Joker gives at the end is just like, guys, no, you got it all wrong. I think he's actually saying that. And the reason he makes that shit a musical, which is the same reason why the bros who love the first movie hate this one, because it's like a musical. What the fuck is that shit?
Gay.
Yeah. Right? So this one is like, he's going to make the movie to tell those people how wrong they are. And the speech at the end just solidifies that. And then, like, all the dream sequences where Lady Gaga shoots him, and then at the end when he gets shanked, where it's just like, this is what it is. The people who worship the character of Joker without seeing the mentally ill Arthur Fleck are totally missing the point.
Yeah.
And when those people are confronted with the point, the only thing they can do is kill Arthur Fleck. And that's what happens in the dream sequences and in the reality of the movie.
Okay, I did not get that.
No,
I did not get that it was a mea culpa and that he was mad that people thought that. No, I got that the whole story, because did you notice what the guy who shanked him at the end, did you see what he did in the background?
What'd he do?
You didn't see that.
Where he goes and
he's sitting in the back like giggling and laughing.
I didn't know.
And then he starts cutting his face.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Starts cutting his face. That's the birth of the Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm watching 1 and 2, I'm thinking, how does this broken, sad, jailed man fight Batman? Like, how does he fight Batman? How are we getting to that point?
Sure.
We don't.
Yeah.
The whole movie is not about the birth of the Batman villain Joker. It's about the idea of the Joker.
Right.
You know, and the Jokers that come after are just extensions of this thing that Arthur Fleck inadvertently put into play.
Yeah. But I think it's also the point that, like, this movie is clearly trying to say that those people are all horribly misguided. Right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're doing these things, you're missing the whole point. Like, when when the people blow up the courtroom, you're missing the point. This is not the way to get things done. Society is bad, but blowing everything up and burning everything to the ground is not the answer. And I think that point was totally lost in the first movie. So I feel like that's why he has to make this movie and make it so, like, again, that's why it's a musical. He has to heighten everything and make it so different from the first one so that people can understand, hey, you got this wrong.
Yeah.
And I can't entirely blame people for getting it wrong. I blame him. I think he's not a competent filmmaker. This is what I'm saying.
I don't know about that.
I feel like he has made this movie to be misinterpreted.
Like, there were a lot of comparisons to Taxi Driver.
Yeah,
for the first one.
Absolutely. It's obviously trying to do his own version of Taxi Driver.
Right, but in Taxi Driver, he became a vigilante kind of for good. He became like a Batman.
Right.
You know, in Joker, he's just driven to commit violence out of trauma and neglect and loneliness.
Well, That's why he kills Robert De Niro, sure. But when he kills the dudes on the subway, that's Taxi Driver right there. That's him. These guys are harassing this woman on the subway, and he decides to kill them. That's Travis Bickle right in a nutshell. This is what he's trying to do. He's trying to white knight.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is, again, the first movie, incel bullshit where he's got this next door neighbor who doesn't even know he exists, but he's in love with her from afar.
There's a little of that, yeah.
And it's just like I don't know.
To me, it was just like, this is the depths of loneliness.
Yeah.
He just had everything shit on him. His parents, he was molested. It was just a horrible existence. And when he chose violence, good things came out of it. He became famous.
Right.
He met a girl.
Right.
It felt like it was paying off.
Right.
Which I guess in some instances it might,
Right.
But it's not the right thing to do.
Exactly. And I think that's one thing that the second movie does well is an examination of why people sometimes do this, because of the fame that can come from it happening, right? Yeah. It's like Charlie Manson, right? Charles Manson becomes famous.
Serial killers in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Charles Manson specifically, right? Because he was trying to be a musician. He wanted to just be a famous rock star.
Narcissism.
Doing all these things.
Yeah.
And nobody cared about what he had to say. So he's like, well, I'm going to make sure you care about what I have to say now, And I feel like that's what drives a lot of these people. And this movie, I think, does a good job of showing, number one, that this is the kind of thing that can happen, but also number two, why it's a terrible idea, not just for society, but for the person who's doing it too.
Yeah.
It's an empty existence, even though you're getting this fame.
Do you think that history will judge this more kindly?
I do think so.
I think so too. I thought that when I walked out.
Yeah. I think that 20 years from now, people are going to be less kind to the first one and more kind to the second one. I think people are going to...
I think it's going to be viewed as one thing, and it's going to be viewed positively.
I feel like the first one has a cult following, and the second one will have an entirely different cult following. Yeah. And I feel like people are going to look at the cult of the first movie and be like, nah,
incels for the first one, like theater geeks for the second one.
I mean, yeah. So I have a question for you. You're much more knowledgeable about musicals than I am.
And Batman. Well, I'm very knowledgeable about Batman.
Is this the greatest jukebox musical ever made?
I
hate jukebox musicals.
I hate them too.
I hate them.
I hate them. And I didn't mind this. One thing I loved about it is like all the songs were like positive, upbeat songs.
Right, yep.
But they were done in this, like I said before, like in this weird kind of dissonant, like crazy person fashion.
Yep.
And I think they use the same technique in this as they used in Les Miserables.
Okay.
Where they put an earpiece in the actor. They're not lip syncing, at least not through some of it. So they're actually singing on the set with a piano in their ear.
Oh, okay.
Like an on-set piano player in their ear, and the piano player's following along with them.
Oh, that's
right?
cool. Yeah, that's
so
cool.
Instead, it sounds like dialogue. It doesn't sound like they start lip syncing a song.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're actually doing dialogue, which I loved. I thought that was a great way. I think they should do all movie musicals that way. But it's one of the best jukebox musicals I've seen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen all that many, but I always hate them.
I always hate them,
and
too.
I don't hate this.
Like the only... Yeah. No, I can't think of one that I like.
Yeah. What it seems to me like is most of the time they have this thing where we have these songs. Now let's
write a story around these songs.
Let's mold a plot around these songs.
And sometimes it works, like not for me, but sometimes in general. Like Mamma Mia works.
People love Mamma Mia.
I
think
love
it's
Mamma Mia.
Awful. And I like ABBA, but I think that musical
if you think about a jukebox musical, it's the easiest way to write a musical.
Yeah.
You already have these built-in songs by an artist that everybody loves.
Yep.
So all these people are going to come and watch us, and then you just... two people fall in love, there's a wedding at the end.
Yeah. I guess that's why this one works, because people aren't going to see it because they like the songs, because people don't know what the songs are before the movie comes out.
No, and they're old.
Yeah.
I think they're 70s and before.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that's when it takes place, right?
I don't know.
Feels that way.
I mean, nobody has cell phones for sure.
Yeah, feels like it's in the 70s. I'm so surprised that you liked it.
I was shocked. I was as shocked as anyone.
What did you think that I was going to think of it?
I thought you were going to hate it.
Yeah?
I did, yeah.
I thought you were going to hate it. Because so many people have been shitting on it.
Yeah.
I just read that Warner Brothers canceled I Am Legend 2 because this bombed so bad.
Wow.
They were expecting this big payday, and it didn't happen. So, like, other movies are getting canned because this took such a dump.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. I saw it Tuesday or Wednesday, and it's still opening week, right? And this is a huge movie. Yeah. And there were 4 people in the theater when I saw it.
I had one guy next to me, and he had a coughing fit halfway through. It was like Doc Holliday was in the movie theater with me. So here we go. Pass, pirate, or pay.
Okay, for this one, I am also going pirate.
Yeah.
I can't even go so far as to say that I liked the movie. I just disliked it significantly less than the first one. Do you think
the power of low expectations were in play?
It could be. I tell you what, when that cartoon aired to start this, when it was over, I was like, fuck this movie. I'm so angry that I have to watch this thing.
Yeah.
But then as it went on, I was like, okay, this is not bad. This is actually working somewhat.
Yeah.
But I still think the whole thing is a kind of a muddled fucking mess.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how much I liked it.
Yeah. Well, pirate. I think that if you're listening out there, you should watch this movie, but don't give Todd Phillips your money. That's what I think. That guy sucks, and he needs to stop.
Can I say one thing about this Batman Renaissance that we're having right now?
Yeah.
When I was reading comic books, I started out, the first Batman comic book I read was Dark Knight Returns, which is one of the greatest Batman comic books ever.
Sure.
They made an animated version of it, but it hasn't we haven't seen a real version of that on film. But it's like the end of Batman, basically.
Okay.
And it blew my mind. And I'm like, comic books are like this? And of course, I read more comic books that I started at the mountaintop.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to see a realistic interpretation of the Penguin as a real ass mob guy, because that's what he was kind of portrayed as in the comic books, and the Joker as a real ass insane person.
Yeah.
Instead of a cartoony, villain that he's been in everything. And I am finally getting that, and I like it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they're putting these characters in the real world.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I think Heath Ledger's Joker is completely unimpeachable. I think it's one of the greatest performances in the history of movies. And I think he does a really good job of being a complete lunatic in a mostly real world, and I wish there were more of that unhinged quality to this Joker universe.
Yeah.
And I don't feel, I guess he's just too sad. And I guess that's what the movie's
really
going
sad.
for.
Yeah.
So
it's super sad.
But yeah, it's just not, I don't know. It doesn't work for me on the whole. But again, this movie is definitely worth a watch. So yeah, it's, all
right. My recommendation is pay.
Yeah. That's shocked. Because I am shocked.
Do something for this movie because nobody else is.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
No, see, I think let's. I guess Joaquin Phoenix is dead, so we don't have to worry about him coming back for the next one. But I'm happy to free him up to start doing things that are not Joker movies.
Yeah. He's done enough. He's done a good job. All right, so that's the show, Ken.
Yeah, that is it. Thank you, Andy, for joining me, and thanks everybody for listening.
So we're probably going to have others in. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. So what it seems like we're going to be doing is so every week every episode we're going to be taking 3 different movies or TV shows that are in some way connected. We're going to
try
thematic tie-ins for all of these things, however nebulous they might be. And it's going to be me and Andy, or possibly me and somebody else, and we're going to have more discussions like this where I will tell you pay, pirate, or pass, pirate, or pay.
We'll get there. We just invented the title today.
Yeah, exactly. We're figuring this out on the fly. Pass, pirate, or pay. Pay. I'm going to learn how to say it too.
I hope it's not taken.
Oh, man.
I have to look that up.
That would be bad. That would be brutal, because we really just came up with this independently on the spot, and we both thought it was great.
Yeah. All right, we'll see.
All right. Thanks, everybody.